All right. Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you guys, whether you're watching us live or whether you are watching a recording. My name is Jared, and I am thankful to have you for another episode of Boomer Shooter Friends Forever, put on by Retrovibe. Thank you guys for joining us, however the heck you're doing it. I'm really excited about today's show, and I'm thankful to be here. So, what I like to do before I introduce our guest each time is the man himself. Is that a thing people say now? That's cute. Before we get started every single time, I know there's always new viewers or they'll catch the recording and they want to know what this show is about. And that's a really important thing to me as the person who's been asked to host it, because it's become a great joy in my life and kind of a perfect example of the sort of thing that really has captured me about this retro FPS community. And so I always like to kind of explain to new viewers, old viewers, and so that we're all kind of on the same page about what we're doing here. So this show was originally going to be titled Project Warlock Heroes. And as it developed, it became clear that the retro FPS community is just incredibly interconnected. And as we thought about the types of conversations we could have here on this show, we realized that they're more and they're better than just kind of focusing on who inspired Project Warlock or who made an influential video or who offered encouragement during its development. And as we made plans for the show in general and each one, we just saw an incredible opportunity to inspire and welcome new members into this retro FPS community that we've grown to love. And there's no better way to kind of exemplify and welcome people in than to invite in influential members of the community, exciting people on the show. We could talk about games, development, thoughts, memes, and just kind of show everyone that the goal is to show everyone the most important thing about us as a community is that we're just kind of all the same. Our biggest, the people who are considered to be the biggest deal in our community are just regular guys who love the same games that you and I do. And so it is with that I welcome you as viewers to BFF. And again, I just want to express my thanks that you guys take the time out of your busy day and schedule to come and listen to us just kind of gab about the things that we love. So, without delaying any longer, I want to welcome Kuba, who is here week by week with me. I'm very, very excited to have him here. That is the wrong person. There we go. We ruined it. Kuba, welcome in, man. What's up? How are you doing?
Hi, everyone. I'm pretty good. How about you, Jared?
I'm fantastic. My buttons apparently switched, but we can deal with that. Kuba, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I said this last time, but one of the things that I've really begun to enjoy is every other week I get to sit down with you, and you are just as our friendship has begun to solidify. It's just something I look forward to every single week, and or every other week rather. So thank you very, very much. I know it's insanely late for you, at least as far as demanding conversation is concerned. It's going on. It's almost midnight there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true, but it doesn't matter really because we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Yeah, we are. Thank you for staying up late with me, man. Really, really, it means a lot. And we'll go ahead and we will welcome in our new friend to the show, the Dave Oshry. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Welcome. Are you tweeting?
Maybe.
Maybe. That's okay if you are. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah, we're just tweeting that we're live. Hi, people.
Well, cool, man. Dave, thank you so much for joining us. This is the first time we've spoken with voices, although we have had past communication. And I've been looking forward to sitting down with you and just kind of going over stuff and enjoying. I don't know, your insight and the passions that you have as far as New Blood and the Boomer Shooter kind of revival we've gone over the past.
I'm just
several
here because
years.
I was promised we get to see Big John in Project Warlock 2 finally.
Oh, I love that so much. I sincerely hope that that's true. I may or may not. I may or may not know whether that's true, or not. But oh man, well, welcome guys. Here, let me find my right frame here. I'm pretty sure, I'm guessing now because I've changed everything. We're very, very professional here. Let's pop in here. Perfect. I can see you both. I love it. Yeah, so we hope to see Big John, honestly, everywhere in every game. Big John domination is the ultimate goal. So again, thank you guys. Anyhow, we're gonna have all sorts of questions in chat. First thing I want to do with guys in chat, I promise we're gonna have a time period where I'm gonna actually let you ask questions, and I'm going to reward the most interesting question in chat with a copy of the Project Warlock big box that's out. So if you guys just start kind of grinding your gears and thinking about stuff that might be really, really cool with Dave and Kuba here, whether it's question for one or both, I see something in chat at some point. I'm probably going to write it down if it's really, really good. And yeah, best one will get a copy of that. So I think where I want to start today, I know Kuba's used to me kind of throwing him on the spot. I'm going to skip that for a moment. Whether I'm going to actually do that or not during this, I'll keep you guessing. But this is a really exciting stream for me as far as BFF is concerned, primarily because I have two, how do I say this? Because it's really, really weird. This, I mentioned the phrase already, but the this whole retro FPS revival, right? That is currently we're I don't even think we're near the peak of it, to tell you the truth. I know people get all weird about what about when it slows down. I don't think we're anywhere near that. But I have two people here who kind of were some of the strongest forces in that type of revival. It's crazy because I'm gonna mention a year, and it was an absolutely insane year for the genre of games that we love. And I don't care what people want to call them. I don't care if they're boomer shooters. I don't care if they're classic FPS, retro FPS. But 2018 seems like it was forever ago, but that's like 4 years ago.
A long time ago.
It's
5 years ago almost.
It's
Yeah,
still,
it feels like ages.
dude. It's absolutely nuts to me though, because I'm sitting here like looking at all the games that have come out, and 2018 was an insane year, and that's the same year that both of your guys is kind of, or both of you guys kind of were a driving force in this. What Dusk got its actual like official drop in 2018, and so did Project Warlock around the same year. So I kind of want to. One of my goals here with the audience here is to allow you guys to kind of compare and contrast that year in particular, because it's only 2018. That's 4 or 5 years ago, but we didn't have a bunch of games to look at. We had your guys' games, and you guys were making the rules. So I really just I'm interested in where your guys' mindsets were during 2018 as you're about to launch your titles, the thoughts you're having, the nerves you're having, the things you're looking at, the process. So I'm going to ask Kuba, in 2018, well, actually, let's go with Dave first, because Dave dropped, I think, January, right? Is when
Dusk was December 2018.
2018? December?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, hold on.
December 10th, 2018. It was the 25th anniversary of Doom, remember?
Oh my gosh. Wait, did I mix your guys' dates up, Kuba? Are you January? Or are you earlier in the year? You're not. Somebody was January, I swear. Maybe it was
off the rails already, Jared.
We already are. It's horrible. Well, let's talk about 2018 in general. You guys both launched these incredible titles in 2018. We don't have this big old player base yet who's playing a lot of our games. I want to say Strafe came out the year before, and Ion Fury probably sometime around the launch of these titles, but you didn't have this huge player base. So I want to talk about like where you guys were, what you guys did. Were you guys worried? Were you scared that you were going to put these titles out and you weren't going to have that interest? So Dave, please share your 2018 story with me.
Okay, my internet's cutting in and out. Sorry, I live rurally. We don't have great internet. Yeah, 2018 was mostly about, we had put Dusk into early access in, I think 2017. Or we promised it at the end of 2017. We were like, Halloween 2017, that's when it's coming out. And it didn't actually fucking come out because we had done episode 1 and 2 in early access. And then people don't remember this, but they were waiting on episode 3 for like forever. And we were getting Dusk World done. We were working on it. We had to be perfect, right? We had set the standard we had in the bar. We had set so hard for ourselves. We had to one up ourselves with episode 2 and then episode 3. We had to stick the landing, and it took us forever. And yeah, 2018 was mostly a lot of stress and wondering if I was going to have to move back home with my mom at the end of the year or not. If Dusk actually came out, and then Dusk did come out, and Valve didn't like launch it for like 20 minutes and nothing worked right, and it didn't sell very well for like a few days. And then I was like, okay, so I will be moving back in with my mom. But then it started selling pretty well, and then it started getting like lots of 9s and 10s and stuff. And then I was like, oh, I don't have to move back in with my mom. And my mom was very upset about that. She would have loved to have me back in the house. But yeah, that was 2018 for me. It was mostly, you know, we had built, you know, compared to what we do now, like sales wise, you know, Dusk was like, you know, a drop in the bucket. It was crazy, but it was enough for us to get going really, with what we were doing and really kind of kick off everything you see today. It was 2018 was, I don't remember most of it. I remember just a lot of working on episode 3 and Dusk World and getting Dusk World working so all 5 people who play it can continue to play it. Don't ever make multiplayer for your games. We like have a strict no multiplayer rule now.
I played it once. I played it once.
Yeah, but we play on Halloween together because we put the pumpkins and stuff in the game. We want to do some stuff with Dusk World eventually, but like it's just like do not put multiplayer in your indie retro FPS. It is not worth the time and money. But anyway, we did it because we promised we would. But it took a lot of time. Dusk would have launched a lot earlier if it wasn't for Dusk World. But yeah, 2018 was a lot of stress and a lot of development, and then but it ended on a pretty high note because we got Dusk out on the 25th anniversary of Doom, and we asked both, you know, John Romero and Bethesda if that was okay, and they were like, "Sure, we'll share your tweets and stuff," and we were like, "Thanks." You know, it's always good to get the seal of approval from, you know, from the Godfather and also from the people who might sue you for, I don't know, doing anything. So yeah, 2018 started off a lot of stress, ended with a lot of stress, but on a high note. So that was 2018 for me.
See, and that's really crazy because like I'm gonna ask Kuba kind of the same thing, but I penned something down here that I want to ask you guys about that experience. But Kuba, I'm pretty sure you're gonna hit on it as well, and then we'll kind of go back and forth on the experience. But 2018 for you, like you're a young man, you're coming out with this game, right? You've worked your ass off on it. And that's a scary thing. You don't know you don't know how it's going to land. You don't know if it's going to land on its feet or what. But yeah, to share kind of to contrast and compare with Dave. What was your 2018 like as you were going into Project Warlock launch?
Well, I think the first thing I should say is that the younger you are, the less you think about bad stuff. And to be honest, it was a very interesting year because I really spent a lot of time on making the game as best as I could, and I really thought that I want to make people, so to say, happy about the game, right? So I did everything I could to make the game best as possible. And I also knew at the same time that the current situation with the retro shooters wasn't as expanded as right now, because that's a completely different situation, right? And I was aware of Strafe and everything, and I saw that Strafe didn't work out kind of as well as everyone expected at the beginning. And I was kind of worried about that because I was not sure if, so to say, the market for retro shooters was ready for such games. But as time proved, people did want these kind of games, and I'm really happy with how it came out. So it was a very interesting time because we had this GOG launch, exclusive launch, and then we had.
Remember that? Yeah, you guys launched exclusively on GOG. I was like, okay, I've never seen.
Yeah,
that
so it was a cool choice, which I'm really glad we did, and I'm very happy about everything we did back in 2018. And that was a very interesting year because this year actually allowed me to, so to say, change my life kind of, and I really did. Thanks to 2018. I was able to change my life as a whole because I could really start focusing on game development. And that's why I do remember 2018 as a very important year of my life. It was like the pinnacle of everything I did so far, and the release was just like, that was the biggest, most stressful day in my life. It's just, you cannot compare that to any school exams or anything that I had so far, but it was just awesome to see the game release and to see people play it and have fun and just to read those reviews. I really do fondly remember that time. And yeah, I think that was the point where we had like, I don't know, we had like a couple of games out. I think it was Dusk, Project Warlock, and Medieval. We had Strafe, maybe some other titles too, which I forgot.
Yeah, Medieval was 2019 early.
Yeah, but it was really close to that.
Yeah.
Like a couple, I think it was a couple of when did Medieval release actually?
I think so. Full launch, I think it was 2020. I think early access started 2019.
Yeah, but anyways, it was really close to one another, and Medieval was also known at that time, I think, already. And
Yeah,
I think,
like 2017. I think.
yeah, so I really think that we had a small amount of games in this genre out or even known, and it amazes me how it expanded upon these coming years. Like today, we have so many titles which are really cool, and it's just amazing how it grew. I mean, it's really cool to see the whole genre which we're creating throughout the time, right? So it's really different than it is today, and this is the best thing that I like about 2018. I have that comparison to today's times. This is just amazing.
See, and this is why I wanted to. I know it's a weird way to start the show is to swing back to the beginning, kind of, and just say, hey, explain this time period to me. But the reason I wanted to start this way is I really wanted to kind of lay the groundwork for people, because one of the things about this show is a lot of people who end up watching it are other developers, and they're up and coming people who are working hard on their games, and the landscape is incredibly different. But as we talk about the way that you guys are launching games during that time period, the stories sound very similar, right? Like there's nerves, there's concern about player base, there's learning about not making a multiplayer game, and it's one of these things where I don't think it's that different than it was, other than the landscape has been laid, and I like to explore that with you guys. But one of the things that is different, and that I want to point out, I think, to you guys, and then kind of get your response to it, because we have two people here, and I already said that you guys are more or less founders of this genre, which is really silly and weird and big, and I know that some of the other guys who've been involved in kind of that position occasionally talk about feeling a sense of imposter syndrome and stuff like that. But the reality of it is you guys founded this revival. You guys made the rules, and so I kind of want to get responses. I want to kind of get in there and feel how you guys feel about just that reality. You guys, there's a whole bunch of people who are making games. There's a whole bunch of people who are playing games. There's an entire industry that kind of built off the foundation that you guys laid. How does that feel? What does that make you think? And what are your responses to that? Kuba, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first of all, it's kind of hard to believe. I mean, I just made a small game which I thought was cool, and it's kind of hard to understand that it's one of the, well, as you said, it sounds like it's a pretty important game when it comes to the genre, but this is something I did not realize until you said that. So this is, I think, what makes me feel pretty good about myself. I'm real happy about that. But at the same time, it is also kind of hard to understand, because I still feel like Project Warlock is a small indie game that is just, pretty cool. Some people like it, and I'm pretty happy about excuse me. I'm pretty happy about that. But it's really interesting to see how this whole thing evolved over the time, It's just... I'm not sure what to say. I mean,
yeah, no, that's fine. I think it's I more than anything I like, these are thoughts that people people have about you guys, and not having an answer to it is actually completely fine and valid. It makes sense, because that is a thing. People's careers are built on the foundation you guys have made.
I mean, this is definitely something that I did not realize until now, so to say. Because I really thought it's just a small game, but now when you say that it's like a foundation of the whole genre, it completely changes my mindset right now, because this is something that I did not realize before, and I think this is really important, and I'm very happy that you mentioned that, because it really makes me feel kind of important, so to say, in our community. And I really feel good about that. And I really want to continue doing good stuff and making people happy, with next games and everything. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, no, thank you for that, for responding to that. Yeah, Dave, what are your kind of thoughts that rotate around that? Because I know I've heard you talk about discussions you've had even with guys at New Blood and dealing with that type of reality, like they are these important people that have done these important things for the genre. And I mean, but you yourself are one of those.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, it's, we never got into this with any sort of thinking we were doing anything like that. I mean, we make games for ourselves, and the games we make were, because nobody else was making them at the time. We made Dusk because nobody was making games like Dusk. We made a Medieval because nobody was making games like a Medieval. Hakata did Ultra Kill because nobody's making games like Ultra Kill. And then we're like, shit, we want some like immersive sims back and stealth games. So we're doing Gloomwood, doing Fallen Aces. We make whatever the fuck we want for us, and it just so happens a lot of other people like these kind of games too. And when we started doing it, back in like the Rot 2013 days, it was us and the Shadow Warrior reboot. And even then, those weren't like truly like the retro shooters like we've got with Dusk and Project Warlock and stuff like that. So it's cool to see. I think, I've said this before, I think it would have happened one way or another. Everything goes in cycles. We went all the way back around to, military shooters, and then all the way back around to Carrying 9 to, Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 and shit like that with the AAA games. But then in the indie space, things definitely go in cycles. You have everybody doing pixel art. Now everybody's doing like PS1 low poly, stuff. And soon enough, we'll be doing N64 and PS2 looking games. And, we'll get into retro FPS Half-Life likes. Everything goes in cycles. So if it wasn't us, I think it would have been somebody else. But I mean, I think the reason is because we grew up, playing these kind of games like Doom and Quake and stuff. And now we are old enough that we miss those experiences. And when we are now able to make games, we want to make games like that, the times we miss. And you get together with other people who feel the same way, and you make games like that. And then it turns out there's a lot of people who want to play games like that. And over the last 5 years, we've all kind of gotten together, whether it's developers or players or whatever, and that's what this retro FPS community has become. When we launched Dusk and Project Warlock in 2018, there was no Realms Deep. There were no Discords with tens of thousands of people, all who wanted to play every boomer shooter there was. Boomer shooter, nobody had coined the term boomer shooter yet. That wasn't a thing. It took, a few years of all these hit, and this isn't a money-making genre, right? Nobody's making boomer shooters to make money. If you're making a boomer shooter and think you're going to make millions of dollars, you in the wrong business. We do it because we love these kinds of games, and nobody else is doing them, and we like doing them, and we're good at it.
I'm pretty sure that you, Dave, actually created the term boomer shooter.
I don't think it was.
I feel like you did it.
People credit me with everything, and I'm pretty sure like I am not responsible. I don't think I ever said boomer shooter. Like the boomer, like well,
I swear it's that one. It's the one meme. It's the
it's the 30-year-old boomer, right? Sipping the Monster Ultra on the fucking riding mower. That's
Who made that?
And we get it. But the normies don't get it. They're like, why are they called boomer shooters? They should be Gen X shooters. And I'm like, I hate you. Go away. You don't get the meme, and it's fine. And then there's people who are like, oh, they're called boomer shooters because the games go boom. And I'm like, that's even dumber than what the other person said. No, they're called boomer shooters because we were all joking with the 30-year-old boomer meme and Realms Deep and sipping in the boomer juice and right because they're like, I don't get it. None of these people are boomers. My dad's a boomer. I'm like, no, we're 30-year-olds that act like 50 and 60-year-olds. Like I have to after this, I literally have to go test retro shooters and mow my lawn and like drink lots. That's my life. It's like actually my life. I am 38 years old, but I feel like I'm 58, and we're the kind of people who make and play these games. So that's why they're called boomer shooters. But I'm pretty sure I didn't come up with the term, but like, I love it. Like how lucky are we that the games we make have a term of endearment like that. Some, most genres would be so like you could be called immersive sims, which is the worst fucking name for a game genre ever. I didn't even know what that was until we started working on Gloomwood. I'm like, that's what these are called? This sucks. I used to call them FPS RPGs back in the day when I played like Deus Ex and stuff. I was like, yeah, it's an FPS, but it's got RPG stuff. That makes sense. And then like 20 years later, like, no, these are called immersive sims. And I'm like, can we pick something else? Like that's awful. I can't put that on a box. Yeah, like somebody in chat said Souls likes, rogue likes, awesome. Those what you like what you're getting, right? So when someone says a game's a boomer shooter, you know what that is. You know it's a retro FPS like Doom and Quake with handcrafted level design. You get to carry a lot of weapons, move around real fast. Like, you know what it is. Metroidvania, same thing. Like, so when somebody says, "Oh, I don't like boomer shooters, we should call them something else," it's like, what? Like, it's great. You know what you're getting. If you don't get the joke, that's fine. But like, in terms of like knowing what you're getting, which is the biggest thing for me when it comes, me and like marketing games, I want like 3 words or less. I want people to know what they're gonna get. Boomer shooter is great, but yeah, Project Warlockamanias.
I think there's no other genre which has such a cool name.
Yeah, I think so.
No other genre.
It's been really, it's been cool to see, and if people want to credit us with getting it going, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't us, somebody would have done it. Would they have done it as well as Dusk and Project Warlock and a Medieval and Ion Fury and everything that came out in like 2018, 2019? I don't know, but I'm glad we did, and I'm glad we're still doing it. Yeah.
Dave, what I think is amazing about 2018, I think it's amazing that we managed to tackle different time periods from the 90s. I mean, I tackled the 1993, 1992, and you guys tackled the later years with
90-degree walls. They still work.
This is amazing. I mean, we didn't even talk to each other, and we managed to offer on the market games from different time periods at almost the same time, which is amazing.
Yeah, I saw Project Warlock I saw it at PAX one year. You weren't there, but there was a video screen with your face talking about the game. I was like, that kid's like 12. There was like a looping video at the Project Warlock booth with you like doing an interview, and then there was games.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get to PAX myself, so we had the video of me.
It's okay, Ball. You're not missing much in Boston. Terrible place. Don't ever go there. I'm from New York. Can you tell?
It's really interesting because the thing I was about to say is exactly what Kuba just said, that I think, like, because here's the thing is when it comes down to it, I'm a player. Like, I'm kind of that end user, right? Like, I stream, I play games, I talk about games a lot, I write about games. When I work doing industry work in the back, it's all from the perspective of like this end user, and I find it to be absolutely insanely interesting to me that simultaneously, 2018, 2019, we have almost the full spectrum, or the full initial spectrum, like the things that are like id Software and stuff like that influenced, all dropping at the same time, and kind of reinvigorating the industry and saying, hey, these things are still, for guys who want to drink their monsters and mow their lawn, like this stuff is here and it exists, and it's really funny because like as a player, I annually, like even before I got back into the modern scene, annually I played Doom. 93 Doom, played through the whole thing annually. Quake, played annually. And I'll tell you, the craziest thing is, like, I try to do that now, but I can't because we have so many new games that have that same exact appeal. And again, like, you guys initiating that is just such an interesting thing to me because we have it all kind of drop at the same time. And so, I was always I was a Quake guy and a Doom guy, but depending on my mood. But there's some people who are Quake guys, some people who are Doom guys, and everybody kind of gets their flavor. And as we look at the industry now, we have even more flavor. And some game, like we're like Dave said, there's cycles. We're about to hit. I think we're pretty firmly about to hit like a Half-Life kind of cycle. I like that phrase a lot.
Yeah, sounds pretty cool.
Like I'm ready for my Half-Life.
The thing is, it's harder to do. With us trying to do stuff like Gloomwood and replicate everything in the Dark Engine and stuff like that. This shit is hard. And making an indie game, like Half-Life is gonna be hard. Half-Life was nothing but set pieces. And stuff like that, and tons of AI and great animations and stuff. We can't just.
It's definitely an interesting challenge.
Yeah, and I think somebody will do it. I mean, there's so much talent out there now. We'll see.
Oh, by the way, have you heard we're getting a Half-Life boomer shooter?
We are?
Yep, I saw that somewhere on YouTube. I think it's a mod. But... Yeah, I think so, but it looks really good.
I saw that. Yeah.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, we've got all the Half-Life textures and everything working in the Dusk SDK, so people are going to be able to import old gold source maps into Dusk and play them. We posted a video of it like a million years ago, but you'll be able to play through all of Half-Life in Dusk pretty soon with Dusk weapons.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if we ever finish the Duskesty.
So as we're talking about this, something that kind of comes to mind as an observer with you guys, and something that I think I want to bring up for the viewing audience and people who come in, because one of the things about in particular you guys, but in general, as we see the more established individuals in the community, is you have this sense of celebrity, you have the sense of that's Dave, that's Kuba, we got, there's Imansky, there's like these set people who have these names, but you have these fans, right? And they want to be like you guys. They want to get involved. They want to and as silly as that is, one of the things that I love to continually express and remind people in these places is you guys weren't always equipped to do things like this. You guys have wildly different skill sets. And so as our industry is 5 years going, as far as like this immediate thing that some people are extremely passionate about. I always like to point out how the difference in people who are involved in the industry. Like Kuba is the type of guy who likes to lock himself down and work and make something and hand it out and get it going. And then you have Dave, who, at least my understanding, Dave, you head New Blood and run a lot of kind of the general producer roles. Nothing like everything goes through you, but you also kind of have that end user mindset. And
the reason why I'm good at producing and directing and marketing our games is because I'm making them for me. I am my own target audience. If I like the game, I know other people are going to like the game, and until I'm happy with it, I'm not going to put it out there. And I know how someone like me would want to be shown the games like we're making. It's very easy for me. Product knowledge is number one, no matter what you're selling. When I was working at Guitar Center in college in the drum department, the more you know about all the drums and the drummers who play them, the more shit you're going to sell, right? If a guy walks into the store and he knows more about your shit than you do, he's going to walk out and be like, well, I didn't buy anything because that guy didn't fucking know anything. He didn't know his shit. So we definitely know our shit because it's our shit. But yeah, I mean, it's hard because, a lot of indie devs, they just want to develop games. Not everybody can get a producer. Not everybody get a marketing person. I started the company from I was the marketing guy and the producer and with my company, right? And I don't do the programming, I don't do the art. I'm the business guy, I'm the marketing guy, I'm the producer director. I don't do the programming, I don't do the art, I don't do the animation, I don't do the sound. I do all the I do everything but the hard stuff. So it's different, especially from an indie scene. You can't get working on a game, and if you don't have the skill set to get out there and start doing marketing and your PR, you're gonna be like, well, who the fuck? I need someone to do this for me. The good thing is now with the community, the retro FPS community has, you could just be like, hey, I'm making a boomer shooter. What do y'all think about it? And then like me and David and fucking Dylan will start tweeting about it. And then next thing you know, everybody's talking about it. Look at a game like Krot, how would a game like Krot get out there without the boomer shooter community and us talking about it? And he wanted us to publish it so bad. I was like, dude, I don't need to publish your game, Vit. I'm just going to tweet about it a bunch and you're going to sell a shit ton of copies. That's all you need. And like the fact that we've got this following in this community, we can do that for people now. I mean, look at a game like Cruelty Squad, that like the average person looks at that game on Steam and they're like, what the fuck is this? This is a joke, right? And then you get like 100 people who are like, no, actually it's an amazing game, and you trust us, right? So go fucking buy it and go fucking play it. Next thing you know, it makes $1 million and it gets nominated for the Seamus McNally Grand Prize at, GDC and stuff like that. So like, whereas you may have needed back in the day, you might have needed like, shit, we need to hire marketing and PR and get really good trailers going. Now, if we're talking about this retro FPS community, that's the best part of it, where if you're making something good, you can get it out there and you can do well with it just because we've got this community of people who just really want these games. If your game's good, if your game sucks, we're just going to be like,
It's really neat to see again from the outside, because I think I got involved roughly, I don't know, I'm losing track of time, probably 3 years ago. People recommended Dust to me for years, and I just kind of was like, I know, but I like Quake. I like Quake. I don't need this new thing. And eventually I did, and I get it. I get it. And then I played Project Warlock, and I got it. And then it kind of grabbed me and pulled me in. And to see this community where it's like you say, like we have all these passionate people, right? Like working hard on things that some are good and some are bad, and as the good ones rise to the surface, I think one of the advantages of our community is that people genuinely get excited about it, and the excitement. There's been this pattern of when you're excited about it, you talk about it, and our community is connected. And so if Dave's excited about something or Kuba's excited about something, hey, I see it. Hey, I think I'm excited about this too. And we ignore the other things and hope they get better. But as we have people who get involved and interested in these things, it's like there's really also entry level stuff.
It's really easy to share this stuff, and it's easy for me to find people, tag me, and then I'll just share it. Next thing you know, like that person's got a lot of followers of their own, and people are following their game. And my DMs are always open. I talk to devs all the time about releasing games on Steam and doing ports and avoiding shitty publishers and all that kind of stuff. And that's another great part of this community. Like, boomer shooter devs come to me all the time. They're like, Dave, this publisher wants to publish my game, and they want to take all this money, but they think I'm like, listen, you do nothing. You talk to me first, and I'll let you know what's up, and if you're about to get a shitty deal. Because we got to look out for each other, right? All the boomy shooty devs got to look out for each other and make sure we're all doing all right. I don't know any other community like that. I don't think pixel platformers have this kind of a community. I think maybe the haunted PS1, style guys talk to each other a lot, but I think we're pretty rare in the sense of the kind of community we have, not only for players but for developers. Even just stuff like, the Realms Deep Discord, I'll go in there every once in a while, and then there's like a column for tweets, like what people have been tweeting, and I'll just go through it and retweet everybody's fucking thing. Or, if there's a new Kickstarter, I'll just go in there and donate a bunch of money so we can put Big John in everybody's game. Why not? But I think our community is very rare in that regard. And I think that kind of all culminated in, Realms Deep. I had been pitching Valve to do a retro shooter sale for years. I just hadn't, taken the time to get it together. I had talked to Fred and Night Dive and, a bunch of other people about getting it together. And then Fred came to me a few years ago. He's like, yeah, Dave, we want to do you and us at Night Dive, and we'll do a show with the Boomer Shooter show with the Realms Deep. We'll call it Y'all. People don't realize that my Big John is based on Fred's impression of Arnold in Predator. It's not me doing Arnold. Big John is Fred Schreiber doing Arnold in Predator.
I'm not going to be able to talk to Fred.
Yeah, whenever I do Big John, it's like anyway. But most people know that. But anyway, whenever I do a Fred impression, it's always kind of like Big John. And I was like, dude, that's the best idea ever, because I've been wanting to do a retro sale. So I was like, listen, well, you do if you want to get a stream together with whoever, we'll do it. We'll get to you some exclusives and stuff. I'll make sure Night Dive, the Postal dudes are involved, and then I'll handle the Steam sale. And next thing you know, we've got this stream with all these world reveals. And it's it's better than most of the shit that goes on during E3 and stuff. Let's be real. And then the Steam sale ended up being huge because we can not only feature the big games, but also all these indies, and we can get them wish lists and sales and get their streams featured. And it's a place to go. Do you like these kind of games? Well, we got a whole fucking thing. And I think that was really the culmination of showing just how big the scene had gotten by 2020. If 2018 was when it kicked off, 2020 was really when it exploded. And now we're coming into 2023, and it's not just retro shooters coming out of that Realms Deep scene. It's there's tons of immersive sims. There's genre blending ones. You've got stuff not only Gloomwood and Fallen Aces, but stuff like Fortune's Run, and all this, these games that are just doing so many things other than just hey, this is like Quake. Hey, this is like Doom. We've got so much more to offer than that. And the cool thing is, it's still very underground. It's still very punk rock. Mm-hmm. There's it's still and every once in a while one will make it to a mainstream website. and the normies will be like, hey, what's this game? The graphics, there's no graphics. What is this? And I'm just like, fuck off. We don't need you. That's the best part. We don't need them. I don't need IGN to review any of my games. It does nothing for me. It does not matter one bit. The funny thing is now that like we've gotten to a point where like IGN and PC Gamer like reach out to me for like to be in their showcases, and I'm like, I mean, we've got some cool stuff, but I'm going to tell you, like, you're going to put a New Blood game during your E3 presentation, and the whole chat's going to be like, what the fuck is this? Is this like, what is this retro shit? And like, I don't care. We don't, but it's, it's not gonna hurt me, but it's gonna be weird for you guys. Like, I know you guys get it and you want to feature our stuff, but like, we're gonna go where our people are. You don't play a punk rock show in a stadium. You play it at the shitty punk rock club where you can barely fit any more people through the door. That's where you want to be. I don't want to. Otherwise, do you want 100 people in a stadium because like nobody's there? Or do you want 100 people in a bar? I want 100 people in a bar. I don't want 100 people in a stadium that's mostly empty, where everybody else is like, why did we do this? I think that's a good analogy.
No, I think that's great, and it actually like thinking about like it also talks about the idea of like what does hold us as a community together, because like you and Kuba are completely different guys, like completely different, but we're all part of the same. It does feel very punk rock. I think that's a really good way to describe it. And as we look into the future of that, I'm really curious where you guys. I mean, I know we're all kind of along for the ride, but where do we hope that it goes? Like Kuba, what do you like? What are your thoughts on the future of our community, our scene more than anything? Like, where do you want it to go? How do you want us to like? What are your hopes for this thing? You want it to stay the same? You want it to like just. What's your vision for the future? Because as somebody who has founded it, as you're getting to continue to work in it and develop it and influence it, and as people begin to know your name more, like you get to kind of steer things a little bit in some regard. So where do you hope that we go as a community, as an industry?
Well, I think that having such a real great community as we have right now is just great, and it would be a real shame if we lost that due to mainstream stuff. And I really hope that to some extent it will stay as it is right now, because I feel like there's this huge community, so to say, which just feels like a family, and I really do mean that. I feel like every single player that plays Boomer Shooters is a family person. We're just in a same on the same boat, and we really do love the same stuff.
Family people.
Yeah, and I mean, when you have players that play Project Warlock, they also want to play Dusk, and they also want to play other games, and the other way around. I think this is what's the most amazing thing about our genre, is that we have this common sense of wanting to play everything. Like, we don't hate on any game. We just like everything. When we hear about a new title, we just want to see it and play it and see how it goes. And I really want this to stay that way, kind of. But as we can see from over the past 2 years, it's growing really fast. And what kind of scares me the most is that we're going to lose that sense of a cool Boomer Shooter community. But I really think that it won't happen, because we're just a tight group of people who love the same stuff. And I think I just really hope that it stays more or less the same as it is right now, because I know that it's going to expand to some extent, but it's pretty good as it is, I think. And I'm really happy that we have this family community that we have right now. So that's my opinion on that.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, we're having my internet or not my internet. The upload got kind of funky
family.
For a second,
Yeah.
But
family. Family.
So.
Family.
I know it sounds stupid, but I really do think that we are a family.
It's absolutely true, and
it's
the
unique
thing
above all.
No, it is, and that's the thing that attracts people to this community in general, right? Is they feel like they get to be part of that. And again, as we started, making the show and inviting friends on and guests and kind of digging into to feel the connections, the ultimate goal ends up being that we're just kind of displaying the reality of our community and of our scene. Is we are all kind of together. I mean, we have a person here or there, and every once in a while there's some odd trouble, but in general, like Dave said, I don't see this type of interconnected web of dependency in other in other communities. And so I guess I swing the question to you, Dave, like as somebody who as the retro FPS arbiter, what are you hoping for our future? What do you want to have happen with all these games and stuff?
Decides.
Uh-huh.
Well, I want to be retired on my boat at 40.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean for the what do I want? I mean, listen, people ask me all the time what I want to do with New Blood. I'm like, what? Same shit we've been doing. I have no dreams or aspirations. I don't want to be a AAA company. I don't want an office. I don't want to hire a bunch of people. I just want to pay the people I'm working with more now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep making the kind of stuff we want to make. We really did what we wanted to do with Dusk and then a Medieval, and Ultra Kill's really going the way we want. I mean, Ultra Kill's been insane. It's almost out of our control at this point. And then being able to get in on that indie horror scene with stuff like Faith, which is kind of like the proto indie horror game, and to see that have mainstream success now as of a week ago, and then really trying to dial in on the immersive stuff we wanted to do. Dusk is part immersive sim. It's about as immersive as any of our games. You could sit down, light some meat on fire, drink a beer, and do nothing in Dusk with no enemies, and build boxes up to the top of a roof and then jump off it and do a flip. But with stuff like Gloomwood, we really want to tap into the feelings we missed getting from games like Thief and Call of Cthulhu and Resident Evil and stuff. And then with Fallen Aces, that same kind of immersive stuff, but more of a brawler like Condemned with really cool comic book art style. They were pulling from stuff like Action Doom 2, one of probably my favorite Doom mod of all time. We want to just keep doing whatever the hell we want. I think that's what makes it great. Nobody in the retro shooter scene is making a game for any other reason than it's the game they want to make. Why else would you do it? We're not doing it for the money. We're not doing it for fame and fortune. We're doing it because we like making boomy shoots. So I think as long as we keep making boomy shoots and keep propping each other up and keep banding together, then as long as we're doing well enough to keep doing it, why would we want to do anything else?
I think this might be one of the most important sentences of today. Like, we are doing it because we love it.
Yeah.
This is just. I think this is the point, and this is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we don't stress to make our games as good as they can for any other reason than we want our games to be as good as they can. We want people to like them and to like us. We want to say, hey man, I like your games. They're really cool. And I go, sweet, buy a t-shirt. I'm trying to get a boat and retire on it and fish.
It is a really cool thing because I don't think that's a common thread that I see anywhere else, and I see it. It's prevalent here, and in part that's because the foundation of it involves people who all seem to have that same attitude, and that's been something that people have said as you guys laid the foundation. It was clear, like, hey, we're doing this because we like it, and it hasn't given. It hasn't given the community of up and coming developers the illusion that, like, hey, this is the way to make it in the industry. You might not.
Definitely not. If you're looking to get into the wider game industry, do not start with boomer shooters. But yeah, when we say like we love you and we hate money, that's what we're talking about. It's not that we hate money. We need money to like eat and buy stuff like boat. It's that we're not motivated by money. It's like when we hate money, it's like if we loved money, we wouldn't, like, if we were doing this for the money, we wouldn't make stuff like Dusk 82. I wouldn't invest in games like Faith. I wouldn't be making an immersive sim that takes us 2 years to get from a demo to early access. It's we're not motivated by that. We're motivated by making really good games and watching people the thing that'll never get old is watching someone play your game and seeing them react the way you hope they would. That's when they get to a section or they an arena or whatever it is, and they have the experience that you are hope they do, or the one that you had when you were testing it. Like, I hope people fucking get it. I hope they get this, and then they do. It never gets old. Whether it's someone in the press writing a preview or a review, or a streamer, or a fan artist, or just your average person playing the game and tweeting at you saying, "Oh man, I played Dusk and it was so fucking sick." Blah blah blah. That's why we do it, and I think same. That's why Kuba does it. That's the experience you're looking for when you play the games, Jared, and when you're showcasing all the games on Realms Deep or whatever it is. I think we are all very much on the same page.
Yeah,
there's a certain feeling of satisfaction, really, when you see people get your ideas, and this is what's crazy, because I think we all really care for every single opinion that we get, and this really makes us happy when you see people having fun with the stuff that we love. And this is just great.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you always see these developers like, oh, the forums are so awful, and social media is so awful. I'm like, our forums and social media is great. It's just people telling how awesome we are all the time. Maybe you should make better games and be nicer to people.
So actually, this is a really interesting aspect, because both of you guys have this. We're streaming right now. Viewers are generally like on a lot of these platforms. A lot of viewers are guys who also stream. I want to say statistically, it's like a quarter of viewership on every platform also uses that platform to create content, which is pretty intense and pretty insane. I kind of want to. This is an interesting thought, and I want to say this for them because I think this is something that nobody talks about. When you guys are watching people play your stuff, what like explain that, because you say it's cool when people get stuff, but do you find people get stuff when you're making games? Both of you, I want to. Do you think about the experience that those people are going to display, and as far as like the interaction with like those people online, streamers, content creators, video, whatever the hell they do, right? Like when you're crafting the games,
do we make certain things in the game being like, oh, this is gonna be a meme, or this is gonna be someone's
yeah. Like do you take into consideration as you guys are crafting your fights, your rooms, your games, like oh, I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna watch somebody do this, and I need to make sure they get it. Like how often do you think about the viewing experience as somebody's playing your games?
I mean, not very often, not intentionally. There'll be times when we're playing something or testing something and something happens, and we'll be like, oh, when somebody finds this, it's gonna be hilarious. Like with, let's say, like the rat in Gloomwood, right? We knew people were gonna he's gonna see Boober. We didn't. They named him, right? His name's Boober now. The bubonic plague rat. We give him a little hat and stuff, but like we put him there for testing. Just have to see how the rat would, look and sound. Yeah, Boobert Lumwu inside of a thing. And then we left him in there. We're like, people are going to think this is so cute, right? We knew there was going to be like memes about it or whatever. People are going to be like, why can't I feed the rat? Or why can't I kill the rat? We knew that would be a thing. It was. But like, we didn't specifically put him there to be like, this will be a meme. We just thought it'd be cute because we knew it would be like cute. And stuff like that happens all the time in game development, and then we've got speedrunners, that test our games and stuff like that, and they're always finding crazy new things. Sometimes we take them out, sometimes we leave them in. With a game like Faith, like we know there's going to be certain reactions to certain scenes and stuff like that, but that's kind of the point. With a horror game, you definitely want people to react a certain way, or get freaked out, or get scared, or be like, let's fucking go. So yeah, but do we craft them specifically with like content creators in mind? No, not really.
Kuba, when you're making stuff, do you ever kind of preemptively reflect on like those the public side of the playing experience?
Well, I gotta say, I think that Dave really hit the spot with that, and the only thing I can say is that I agree with him. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is really like. This is it. I mean, there are some things that you might add to your game, like hoping that someone will notice it and stuff. But I really do agree with everything that David said.
What about when people just don't get it? Like, is it like you're watching? You're watching somebody play. I'm curious about this experience from the developer side, because this is a thing as a streamer. Like I'll tell you, one of the keys to my good relationships with a lot of publishers is that I generally, if I don't get something, I try to place it on me, right? Like I'm really careful about that, because it's generally a me issue and not a game issue. But I know that that's not common. I know that the common response is, this is trash. Oh, I hate this, because there's these extremes. But how do you guys how do you emotionally deal with that? Do you just cut it off and say no, or I just want to hear that experience from this side, because we have a lot of viewers who they do play your games, and they do it with people watching.
Well, first thing, I'm not sure if that's the correct way to say that, but I'm pretty emotional, and I do get really nervous when I watch people play my game. So that's the first thing. And I really feel weird when stuff like this happens, and it's just, I'm always so scared if someone's gonna like it. So I do feel a little bit uncomfortable watching someone play my game.
What's your experience like in that regard, Dave? Because I know it launches you pop around, and I mean, like Kuba has a launch and an early access launch, but you have several launches.
Every once in a while, you'll get see someone just doesn't get it, and then I feel like it's a failing on me from the messaging side. It's like, did you not know what you were getting into? Did the trailers and the Steam page and all that not communicate what the fuck the game was? Every once in a while, you'll get somebody who just isn't, they prefer the original thing. You'll be like, well, why would I play this? I could just play Quake. Why would I play this? I could just play Thief. It's like, well, then fuck, they're right there. And there's a million mods that you don't play. You'd rather you want a new thing that's exactly like the old thing than playing the mods for the old thing that would require you to drag and drop 3 files. You lazy sack of shit. You play no Thief fan missions. I know you. I've seen your Steam profile. And yet you complain about Gloom. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think that's a messaging thing. You really have to, I talk about marketing versus messaging a lot. Marketing is getting your game out there. Messaging is letting people know exactly what the hell it is. I think we've gone over this ad nauseum. Strafe had a messaging problem. Because everybody saw Strafe and they're like, oh, retro, cool, looks like Quake, can't wait to get in. And then they get it, and it's a roguelike where you can only carry 1 weapon at a time, and there's 3 weapons in the game. And they're like, what? I thought this was Quake. Why are the levels random? Why can I only carry 1 weapon at a time? And it was because they didn't message that well enough. And then fast forward a few years, and you've got awesome roguelike FPSs, stuff like Immortal Redneck and Nightmare Reaper, the best one, that are basically doing the things Strafe was going to do. But Strafe, I think, was ahead of its time in that way, because, what people wanted then was a classic retro FPS with handcrafted level design and carry a bunch of weapons at the time. And then a few years later, they were ready for the roguelike experience that you get in something like Nightmare Reaper. But where games like Nightmare Reaper, communicated that right off the bat, plus it was a few years later, we had the community, you knew what it was. It was like, this is a roguelike retro FPS. Levels are random, weapons are random, blah, 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 blah. You knew what you were getting. With Strafe, people felt bamboozled. They were like, what? This not Quake? Me confused.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing. That's true.
And there was...
I gotta say, I also was confused quite a bit when Strafe came out.
I invested in the game and I was confused. I was the number one... I'm listed as an executive producer on Strafe because I was the number 1 Kickstarter backer. I gave them a bunch of money. I was like, this looks awesome. Here, take... I have an addiction to donating to people's Kickstarters, as you know. And the game was like coming out, and I was like, oh, I can't. And I finally played it, and I was like, wait, what? This not. Even I was confused. And I remember talking to the guys. I'm like, you really need to put roguelike in the Steam description, or else people are gonna get mad when they start it up and find out that the levels are random and you can only carry 1 weapon at a time. But by then it was a bit too late. But I think Strafe, if anything, it was ahead of its time. But yeah, that's marketing versus messaging is very important. You have to.
Yeah, it sounds like a messaging thing, really.
Yeah, right. Like if we advertise Gloomwood as strictly a survival horror game, people would be really confused by all the immersive sim and shooter elements. If we advertise Dusk as, I don't know, as anything but, and we're very on the nose with a lot of stuff. We're like, hey, do you like Quake and Doom and Redneck Rampage and Half-Life and Hexen and Heretic and all these things, and you'll fucking love this thing, and we do the same thing with Ultra Kill. Do you like Quake and Devil May Cry? Well, boy howdy, do we have a game for you. So by the time by the time they boot it up, you know what you're getting into. And sure, there's more beneath the surface. Obviously, Gloomwood is more than Thief with guns. You know, Dusk is more than Quake but spooky. Ultra Kill is a lot more than Devil May Quake. You know, but you know, if you know what you're at least at the surface getting into, then you're not going to be surprised. You're not going to be disappointed, and we're not going to be disappointed. To bring it back to the original question, we're not going to be disappointed watching people play it, because for the most part, anybody playing it knows what they're getting.
Yeah, so it really sounds like we cannot make people think that we lied to them. So
yeah, absolutely not, and there's no reason to. And that's something to say for being too cryptic as well. Scorn just suffered from a lot of that. People didn't know what the fuck it was. Like, is this a shooter? Is this a horror game? Is this a puzzle game? All I know is that it's got really good graphics, and it's got a lot of gore and Geiger type fucking.
That's kind of true.
But I think, you know, a lot of that was intentional. They really wanted to be cryptic about it because it's that sort of a game. But at the same time, nobody knew what the fuck it was. So it comes out, everybody buys it because it's, you know, it's on Game Pass and it's, you know, advertised everywhere, and like, oh, it's thing. And all the marketing I saw was like, it's got like flesh guns and stuff. But then it comes out and it turns out it's more of like a mist like puzzle game where you occasionally do some survival horror stuff. And a lot of people were just confused. You know, so that the question becomes, how much do you message and market the game, and how much do you leave it cryptic and spooky? I think Scorn could have benefited from some other stuff, but you know, they did do like deep dives into the gameplay and stuff. But like, I mean, when you've got like an 8-year dev cycle and people have already formed opinions about your game like years and years ago, it's going to be hard to come back from any of that. But yeah, messaging is really, really important. So I think if you do it well, nobody will be surprised, and we won't be surprised when we watch people play the games.
An observation in connection with this: both of you guys are huge proponents, or forces at least, in the kind of the early access form of game release. And real quick, guys in chat, if you have interesting questions, pop them in chat right now. I'm going to pick in just a moment here. Let me show you what you're getting. Actually, let me make sure I'm not showing stuff I'm not supposed to. Beautiful. That's great. Okay, let me click over here. So if you guys, and I'm going to ask about early access stuff in that form and the decisions from you guys, if you guys want to think about answers or thoughts on that. If you have interesting questions in chat, I'm gonna pick the thing that I feel is most interesting and that we can kind of have a conversation around. So put them in chat. I'll scroll up in a second, kind of look around and see if there's anything really interesting, and then I'll say, "Hey, cool, you win this Project Warlock big box." We'll send it off to the winner. Where's My Ruben is probably not gonna win, although you can type that if you want. But right here on the screen, you'll see it has a bunch of incredible stuff in it. We've gotten them off to a few people recently, so. This is what you, with your most interesting question here live in chat on Twitch, can get, and I will reach out and get your info for you, or from you, rather. So, here, I had a question for Dave and Kuba as we're kind of looking for questions. If you already put a question, feel free to copy it back in. I won't be offended or anything like that. So the whole early access thing, this is, I'll tell you, early access seems pioneered by games within our genre, right? Like that's
good early access.
Yeah. And when I say early access, I generally don't mean like, you know, cheesy, swindly early access. But I wanted to actually ask you guys about that process, because there have been major changes in titles associated with both of you. I mean, Kuba just had one that I'm my opinion on is it's an incredible change, but man, it was a huge change. And I wanted to kind of ask about that from a developer's perspective, the early access experience, because from a user perspective, I mean, obviously we buy it. I do it a little different. Like I'll play day one and then I try to put it in a drawer for a while and trust it to kind of cook. But there's a lot of people who get involved, and early access is for feedback. So as developers, early access is clearly, well, I mean, you can state how valuable it is or not valuable, if it's a trap or something like that. But I wanted you guys to kind of expound upon that from your perspective, because us who play, we don't get to see that side of the early access experience. So yeah, we'll ask Dave. Dave, what's been your experience as you guys have pioneered good early access?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's everything to us, right? It lets us make the games that we know people want. By the time, if I've said this a lot in other interviews, if you do early access and you launch 1.0 and you're surprised by what people say, then what the fuck were you doing during early access? That's the whole point, is to update the game based on players' feedback. So, you know, With Dusk, people forget this because like I have to keep reminding the guys because with the Gloomwood we launched and people wanted this, that. Obviously, it did super well. But there was people who wanted this, that, and the other thing. A lot of people were complaining about the content or whatever. And I was like, do y'all not remember Dusk's early access launch when it wasn't early access and then it was early access? And then we had to apologize and give out like 7,500 free copies of the soundtrack. No, nobody remembers that. Everybody just remembers Dusk coming out and being the greatest thing of all time. A lot of stuff is rough. But originally we were like back in like 2017, we were against it because early access really had this
fame.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, early access is for a shitty server. This is like for DayZ type of shit, right? Oh, early access, game's gonna be in there forever. It's never gonna come out. Cash grab. And we were like, it came from Valve. I was like, we took pre-orders originally, and then we were just gonna wait till the game comes out, but it was gonna be a really long time. We really wanted to let people play like episode 1 and 2. And the Valve guy was like, just put it into early access. He was like, early access, I don't want to do that. People aren't going to like it. And I wrote you can go find it. I wrote a really long blog post. It was like, Steam announcements. I write really long Steam announcements explaining why we chose early access. Everybody was really receptive to it. And and we started from there with Dusk Early Access in 2017 or whatever it is, and we used that to make the game better. And also, it's a whole lot of testing that you're gonna get. Like, no matter how much internal QA you have, once you have 10,000 people playing your game, they're gonna find stuff that you weren't gonna find. And we did it successfully with Dusk, and then we did it successfully with the Medieval. We're currently doing it very successfully with Ultra Kill and Gloomwood. Faith didn't have early access, because it was just that chapter 3 that we added. So Faith was, as a demo. Demos are back, and then full launch. But the way to do early access the right way, and I love the fact that we launch a new game in early access, and there'll be Steam forum threads that are like, early access, oh, is this ever going to come out? And people will be there replying to us like, this is New Blood. All their other early access games have come out and been really good. We don't have to explain that to people because we've built that reputation, which is awesome. Even if it'll be, if the game's going to be in early access for 2 years, you can fucking wait. Go play something else. Go play mods of the games that you say you love so much that you're never going to play. I don't see no Thief fan maps. I don't see no Quake maps in your fucking directories. But yeah, so if the key to early access is launching with enough content, enough polish to say like, hey, this is what the game's basically going to be like. We just need to add the rest. What do you want? What don't you want? What should we focus on next? And you keep doing that, update. You got to communicate the whole way through. And then by the time you launch, you should have basically a perfect game, at least for your audience. It doesn't mean it's going to come out and sell 1 million copies, but for the people who've been playing it and who you've been making it for, they should like it a whole lot by the time you come out of early access, because apparently you should have been listening to them and developing the game based on their feedback during early access. That's the point of early access. If you're doing early access for any other reason, I get it. Some people put it out, because they need the money to keep working on the game. I get that. We have enough game. We need money to keep working on the game. Let's put it into early access. And that sucks, but I get it when people do that. But if you're doing it for any other reason, then you might as well not, because it's not going to go over well, especially if you don't have a plan to keep working on it. A lot of early access games, they come out and the early access is really good, and then it doesn't get an update for 2 years. And it's like, you should have planned for this, or maybe worked on the game a bit more beforehand. And we've had long periods between updates. With Ultra Kill, Act 2 took a really long time, but we put out stuff between then and tweaks, and we were always communicating. You always have to communicate. Don't go quiet. That's the worst. If you take people's money and then you go quiet, they're going to get upset. It's crazy how that works. It's just like real life. If you take money from someone and say you're going to give them something, and then you don't talk to them for 6 months, they're going to think you're robbing them. That works. That's just how that's normal for them to think that. Think about it. If you were doing that, it's like if you did a drug deal and you gave someone some drugs and they said, hey man, I'll pay you back for this weed in a week. And then you don't hear from them in a year. That's a shitty friend, and you're not going to talk to them anymore or buy weed from them. Yeah. And that's the analogy I'm going with.
That's perfect. That's great. That's great. I love it.
Hit the spot.
Kuba, what's your experience been with early access? Because again, I'm really curious, directly associated with something you just did. I mean, you revamped the entire damn game. I mean, I loaded it up the other day, and it's really interesting because I've said this. I think I've said this on the forums. No, I've said this on probably a Discord or two. Is originally I got sent a copy of Project Warlock a couple weeks before it came out, and I remember going, this game is so fun. Nobody's even gonna notice that the levels are confusing. Like I'm enjoying this so much that nobody's gonna notice. Nobody's gonna notice.
I
the
remember
weakest part of
that.
this
I
game.
remember that.
And it's it's complimentary of something that's good, but it's saying, hey, this thing but you changed that, and that's the amazing thing about early access. And I'm really curious about that change. You can use it as an example, but what's your experience been with early access?
Well, first of all, the first game that we made was a pretty simple game compared to the second one, because we had a very simple level design with a lot of simple surfaces, 90-degree walls, and making the second game is something also completely new for us. This is like the second title that we were making as Buckshot Software, and the decision for early access was pretty clear at this later stage of the development that we had, because we knew that since this is something new that we're doing, and we didn't have so far much experience because we didn't release other games with such level design and graphics and everything, we really wanted to engage with the community to actually make the game as good as possible, since we're learning on the go, like always, basically, because this is also what we did with the first game. And I think that early access is really cool if you know how to use it. It has its ups and downs, but the main thing here is to understand what it is. And you can't just use early access as an excuse for everything. The game is in early access, don't hate it, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, when you get feedback, you really have to read it. You really have to think about it, why people write stuff that they write, and you really gotta, take notes. And this is the most important thing. And this is what we did. Because we had this clear vision on what the game should be from the beginning. We really wanted to, have these huge sprawling levels. But, after the launch, we saw that a lot of people really didn't like that much, and it was a too big difference compared to the first game. And people already liked the first game so much that they did not like the level design in the second game in the first episode of the early access. So we decided that we gotta take a note on that and actually kind of think about how to make it better. And we did that, and I'm really happy with the outcome, because this is I would say that this is one of the best choices that we actually did. And it was really hard to do because it took a lot of time to work on that, and we also had to move around other ideas and updates that we had in mind. But I think it was very important, and early access is, I'd say, one of the best things that happened to us, because if we didn't do early access, it would be pretty hard to actually do such changes. And I really feel that you get a connection with the players, and you get a better feedback. You get this sense of communication that you're having with players, and you really build up on that community. I really think that if the developer is communicative enough with players, you can really get a nice connection there and build a cool community around your game. And it's just really important to understand what it is and how to use it correctly, and you can really benefit a lot from early access. So far, Project Warlock 2 is, I think, pretty safe to say that it's our first early access game, and we're pretty fresh when it comes to doing that. But I really feel good about engaging with community and working on the updates and everything, and showing our ideas and things that we want to do with the game, and looking at the excitement that some players have. This is just really good, and I feel very good about it. It's just one of the best things to do, and I'm really happy about that. I mean, early access is pretty great for me, at least. I mean, I feel really good about the changes that we're doing, and it just feels natural, because it's like we get this instant feedback, and we know what to do, we know what to fix, we know what to work on. We can, change the priorities based on the stuff that people are writing, because sometimes it's really hard to prioritize stuff, and only once you get that feedback, you can actually understand what's more important, because at times we think that we want to do an update on, one aspect of the game, but in the meantime, we see the feedback that there's another aspect which needs immediate attention. And this is really what we get from early access, and I love that.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised about some of the response to Project Warlock 2. I like it better than Project Warlock 1 in almost every way. I mean, I liked Project Warlock 1, but I love Project Warlock 2. That's why I gave you a bunch of money on Kickstarter. I put Big John in the game, yo. So I was actually, I didn't play I played like the early access that you guys had sent me and stuff, and I was surprised to see it's hard when sequels are hard. Sequels are really hard because people a lot of the time just want more of the same. I want more of thing. Give me more thing, but change a few things. Doom 2, for instance. Doom 2. Two more weapon, 3 enemy, big maps made by Sandy. But
Yeah.
it's more the same. Project Warlock 2, you've basically gone from Wolf 3D to Quake, right? You've gone from 90-degree walls to big giant open, areas of more 3D and stuff. And I thought it was awesome. And then people were like, I want more of the first game. It's like, well, 2. Did you not read the site? It says 2 on it.
If I wanted to make some more of the same, I would do a DLC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's like what we're doing with the Medieval. Like, we're not going to call the Black Labyrinth the Medieval 2. That's why it's a DLC. Because if we did that, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't with sequels, right? No matter what we do with Dusk 2, people are going to be like, oh, I like Dusk 1 better.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll just never do Dusk 2. So you were always up against a hard wall. If you do more of the same, they're going to say, well, it's just more Project Warlock 1. If you change it, they're going to be like, well, I like Project Warlock 1 better. You're doing the right thing. And I think I agree. You really need early access to tweak it for those people. You're going to bring in a lot of new people who wouldn't play Project Warlock 1 because it was more, wolfy, with the 90-degree walls and stuff like that and flat sprites. But you're going to get a lot more new people, but you also have to please the fans of the original game, which was a hit. So it's hard. It's a balancing act, and only early access allows you to do that. Otherwise, how else are you going to know what they want? So there's growing pains, but like I said, nobody will remember the rough patches of early access. Nobody remembers Dusk in a Medieval early access. They do not. They don't remember nobody even remembers that we switched from pre-orders to early access. Because I just told you and you were like, I don't remember that. Because, nobody remembers. They just remember, all they will remember is if by the time the game launches and it comes out and the reviews are good and people are happy, that's all they're going to remember 5 years from now. So you're doing it right.
Oh, for me, the sequel has to be fully fledged. I don't want to release, a sequel which is really exactly the same as the first game. I mean, this would not be okay. I would not feel good about that,
Yeah.
Like just, new textures, new monsters and everything. I mean, for me, a sequel gotta be really a real sequel. Yeah, but I mean, this is really important for me. I mean, I do have a lot of cool ideas that I want to really execute, and everything's ahead of us because there's a lot of stuff that I do have planned for the game, but I just hope that we manage to, do it as the time goes on. And there's a lot of cool stuff coming, trust me.
That's rad. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna say who, and those are great answers. That was actually really insightful from a player and fans perspective, because I mean, obviously, like I have viewers who, the early access, like we hate early access, and so yeah, I found that to be incredibly interesting. What we're gonna do is I think, Kuba, do you have a thing you want to do, and then we'll answer the last question. We're gonna do 2 questions. I'm gonna say one that's interesting, and then there's a good one to kind of see our way out on. But do you have a thing that you typically do with our guest?
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Is it what you sent me earlier?
No, actually,
No.
You know what, Dave? Do you know the artwork from the Project Warlock, the original one, which is on the main webpage? On the Steam page? Well, so it's made by our artist, and actually I do have a small gift for you. So we have made something for you, which is
For me?
Yeah, exactly. This is a gift for you.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, who's that?
That's Elijah Wood from the Lord of the Rings. I love that movie.
We have a gift for you here. So this is made by our artist, which works on our artwork for Project Warlock and Project Warlock 2. So you're going to get that online by email, I guess. And yeah,
Sure.
so this is our gift for you.
Thanks, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah,
It's
you made
pretty.
me look very handsome. I appreciate it. Thanks.
It's
I
the
was
same.
expecting you to pull up a. I thought you were gonna pull up a thing, and it was gonna be the Project Warlock artwork, but Big John on it.
Oh, man.
That's awesome, man. Thank you.
That's killer. That I love these things, man. Yeah, they're really really neat to see. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll visit the questions from chat. First, the question that I think I'd like to say is the most interesting and the most thing we can enjoy and expound upon most, because we talked about like responding to player feedback and stuff. But I think something that I find to be particularly interesting is Cirrhosis in chat actually said, how do you control the flow of players' experience? Because as you guys are making games, working on games, I actually know that there's slightly different processes for both of you, but it's kind of the opposite side of the coin, because you have this player feedback, this is bad, but how do you guys, what is your process as you're making these games, making these titles? What is your process in controlling and making a player do what they want? I know that's a big question, but where do you start with that? How are you identifying, like, hey, normal people are going to do this, normal people are going to experience this, as opposed to somebody who is, in the forest and all they see is the trees. They don't see the normal experience. So what's that experience like from a developer's perspective? Like, trying to control me. How do you make me do what you want to do? How do you go about that process?
No.
Mind control.
Yes, I use my super Jew mind control powers. Kanye was right about my people. How do I get to
for example, like let's say there's something you don't want me to miss. Like how do you identify that? Because I'm gonna miss it. We talked about players not getting it, not connecting. But there's obviously like processes that you individually have as you're making a game. Like, it's not just, hey, open this door, fight these guys. You want me to have a very specific experience as I'm playing your title. So let's say there's something amazing in a room, and how do you control me? What are the people like these types of topics? Like, how do you make me look at a thing? How do you make me not miss it?
I've talked about this one a lot. So in Dusk, in Erebus Reactor, after you fight Big John. Before you fight Big John. Sorry, this is when do you fight? E2M8? Anyway, Erebus Reactor in Dusk, we have a part where you flip a switch and then the roof opens up. I don't know if you remember, and this is right before you fight Big John, right? And we ran with the sunshine, and we really want players to look up and see the roof opening up and realize, wow, you're not inside, you're actually outside, and there's a giant roof and like structures that go on for infinity. It's like, blah. It's a really cool moment. But in a AAA game, what they would do is take the camera and go and take the player's head and like make you look at the thing. But we don't do that because we don't take away player agency. So we do it, and we had people play it, and people weren't looking up. So I talked to David, and I'm like, all right, well, when you hit the button, it needs to make a really loud sound, go so and then that wasn't working. And then I was like, okay, well, let's make sure the sun shines in really bright, so you get like a lens flare coming in. And then they're still not fucking looking up. And I'm like, all right, screen shake the screen. When the thing opens, make it go so the screen shakes a little bit, and then finally people sometimes look up and get the desired effect. That's, when you make games like ours, that's because getting someone to do what you want in a game where you have complete freedom is hard. We can only try our best to get the intended, because freedom is part of the process. In AAA and linear games, what they would do is literally, like I would say, is take the camera and show. They do the Doom 3 thing where they go zhup and then zoom back into the player's head. I mean, that's what they started to do. But with us, we don't have cutscenes. We don't do that. And it's cooler when it happens naturally, but it's, not everybody's going to have the same experience. So for something like that, it took a lot of effort to get people to look at the fucking thing. In room to room combat encounters, it's about placing enemies in certain ways. If you want them to have an intended experience, you need to have you want to have the hit scanners close up and the projectile based enemies far away, so you have time to dodge the projectiles and see the hit scanners when they're about to telegraph what they're going to do, because they should. You don't want the opposite. If, like, say you put the hit scanners at the back of the room and the projectile enemies at the front, you're just going to die because you can't see the hit scanners and the projectile guys don't give you enough time to dodge, right? If it's the dance of death that Carmack always used to talk about. You really need, you know, and they perfected this stuff in like Doom Eternal and Doom 2016. You know, you place the enemies in a certain way around the room, and then you spawn in new ones to give you the intended experience of what to fight. And then we also have to give you enough health and ammo pickups to make sure you can handle it in a certain way. With something like Dusk, we always like, and also introducing weapons in boomer shooters is a big deal. Like, you give someone the BFG, and then the next room better be like 50 imps for me to kill, so I know what the BFG does. You know, oh, that's what it kills everything in the room. Thanks, I know that now. In Dusk, you know, when we give you the hunting rifle, you're in a sniper tower, and we say, hey, right click to zoom, and then we spawn a bunch of mages, and you go, okay, this is a sniper rifle, I know how to use this now. When we give you the crossbow, we say the crossbow can shoot through anything, and then we line up a bunch of enemies in a row so you can shoot through all of them, and you go, oh, that does that. You know, the same thing, you know, it's that is the best. And people are always, some people will just get it and shoot up in the sky and spin around and do it. People will do whatever they want. You can only do your best to give them the intended experience. But you know, if you pride yourself on games giving your players complete freedom, it is what it is. Sometimes you can only try your best. But I think, you know, if you follow the general principles, you'll get an intended result a lot of the time.
It sounds like being aware of the, at least in your guys' process, being aware of the kind of the oblivious player, the one who's not going to do that, and catering to those individual weaknesses and challenges is what it sounds like to me. And that's really interesting to me as a player, because I think I need those often.
Yes. The chat said it's about teaching the player and making them think they figured out themselves, right? It's always about making the player think that they're smart or clever. You know, you want the puzzles and stuff to be like, yeah, I figure, you know, you don't want to tell them, but every once in a while you can do something cute. Like we joke about, you know, in Dusk, you know, I got one of my favorite stupid things that I do in terms of game design is writing shit on the walls, because you can get away with that. And so like there's a button. And to teach people, you can shoot buttons in Dusk, because that's the thing you can do in a lot of old immersive sims. You don't have to press the buttons. You can shoot them from far away with projectile weapons. And there's a button you have to hit that's like up here. And we're like, how are people going to figure out that they have to shoot the button? And I was like, right, don't shoot the buttons right over it. So if you say don't shoot the buttons, people are going to shoot the button. And it worked. And I was like, oh, I'm a fucking genius. And there's a later part in the game where, you know, I really wanted people to save, but we don't do auto saves. I'm like, I really hope people save before here. And like, you know, in a game where you can just write shit on the walls in blood, I was like, write save us or save yourself. And as it turns out, people get there and they read that and they go, oh shit, I should save. Because they see the word save and they go F6 or F5 or whatever it is, and it works. You know, so just little bits of psychology sprinkled around. Also, it works, and it's surprising. The problem is being able to fit it in to make it make sense. You know, you can't just write save your game here, please. You know, it has to, or like shoot this button. You can shoot buttons. You know, because doing that is what you could do a tutorial pop up, right? But we try to do as few of those as possible. We don't want to, you know, put stuff here. You don't want to say, you know, save your game now, or you can shoot buttons. Did you know you can shoot buttons? Doom Eternal would do that. It would put you in a whole fucking room and be like, all right, this is the button shooting room. You know, that's, you know, you could turn those off. So it's you always got to think of fun new ways to teach people stuff and show people stuff without putting it in their face, because that's what our genre is. You know, because if we're not, then we are taking steps backward from Doom. And we cannot. We need to take the best lessons from Doom and Quake and stuff like that and apply them to new experiences. We can't suddenly start doing AAA bullshit because then we're unlearning the best lessons of design from the 90s.
Learning by doing.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to something that you, Dave, mentioned before about the Big John. So, yeah, I mean, you kept asking for it. I mean, we are working on some concepts and some mock-ups and I think there's something that you should see. So, you know, these are just early concepts because we are working on the episode 2 right now. It's a topic for later, but generally speaking, there's 2 things which you should see.
Okay.
We're pulling one up on the stream for you. You might be a few seconds behind on that.
I think you should see that.
Oh, do I have to see the stream?
Yeah. I'd pull it up I pull it up in Discord, but it's a little bit of a pain because it'll shift everything around.
Okay, 1 second.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I don't have the stream up. Hang on.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. We can be patient for a moment. It's definitely worth it.
Okay, hang on. I'm loading the stream. Oh my god.
Yeah. So as I said, we do have a couple of cool mock-ups and concepts. So
It needs to be bigger, genre. Yeah,
it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it.
It needs to be more look like Arnold. He looks like me.
I love the art style. I mean, David is doing a really good job on that. I mean, he's getting better and better.
That's amazing.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, there he is.
Oh,
he needs his stupid little helmet. He needs the helmet, or he's not Big John. He needs his little tin helmet.
Yeah, this sounds really cool. I mean, this is just a mock-up, you know, because
no, it's cool. I love it.
We're working on stuff,
he's got the gun.
a big gun.
He's coming. It's happening. It's gonna be a thing. I love it. I'm very happy about that.
So, as I said, there's a lot of cool stuff coming in the future. So I mean, if you're patient enough, you're going to see a lot of cool stuff. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It'd be really exciting. It's
Come on.
so Kuba to just kind of you don't have to answer in too much detail if you don't want to, but the idea of as Dave's talking about controlling players to some degree, and obviously you can't do you have a similar process? Is it something that varies? Like, where do you kind of land on that? Because people find that idea to be really interesting. The idea that you can make me do something and it can feel like I can feel like I did it. Is that a process that you purposefully go through as you're developing your titles?
Yes, I mean, I think the psychological aspect is really important when making games because it really is important to make the player feel rewarded for doing stuff. And the best way to do it is to make player feel that he find it out by himself, right? So we are trying to do that, but at the same time, it's really important for us to, at least for me, I'm making a game which I like, and I really gotta keep my vision, or at least try keeping to it. And I think it's really important to actually do the stuff that I think that I would like the most, because since it's my game, I have to do the stuff that I like. And when it comes to, these encounters and stuff like that, it's really important to, first of all, I always look at the most important aspect for me is, do I like it? Do I feel like it's good? But the second thing is that after, thousands of hours of testing the same stuff, there is no way to be objective about stuff anymore. And it's really hard to assess how good something is. And this is something that you really gotta think through and really, take a step back and just look at everything from the psychological aspect and think about it. Is it good enough for the players? Will they understand what I want to do? And it's kind of, you really got to balance it out, and it doesn't work out always, and that's what early access is for me at least, because as I said, this is making Project Warlock 2 there are a lot of new things that we're doing and trying out, and it's really a trial and error process, so to say, with some things. But most of the time it's like, we are doing what we're feeling is good, It's all about the, feeling it, so to say.
I think I think players find that to be extremely interesting. It's just one of those things that we don't get to we as players don't really get to see that, because the point is to not see it, right? Like, that's actually the goal, is that I never get it. I never run into it. It just happens. I just shoot the button. I find the weapon.
No, don't shoot the buttons. What did I just tell you?
I know, it's hard. The rebellious spirit of man. It's incredible. But I find that to be extremely interesting as a player, and I know that people love to hear those things time and time again, because controlling me and making me have fun is the whole point of games a lot of the time. Giving me freedom, giving me feigned freedom sometimes is part of it. And we like that as players. So that's really cool to hear from both of you. What we'll do, we're already past what I promised I would keep you. What I would like to do on the way out, there's always, almost every single stream, there's going to be this type of question. But that's just the nature of the industry and people being fans of you guys and what you do and all these things. And I feel like somebody asked it in chat a couple times, and I feel like it's just a nice way to get us out of here. Is the idea of people have interest in being in the industry. They want to make games so bad. They see the tweets, they play the games, they see the videos, they love the music, all of these things, and they have all these different skill sets. Where would you, if somebody was like, "Hey, I want to get into the industry," what's an actionable step that you could just say to somebody, or not just like, "Hey, just get involved in the community." Like, what's an actionable step? What would you tell somebody if they said, "Hey, I have interest. How do I get involved in this world?" You can let's go with Kuba first on it. Like what would you say to somebody who they just want to do this? They want to do what you do.
Well, first of all, the first and most important thing ever is if you have a good idea and you think it's a good idea, try and somehow create it. I mean, you have to. There's this point in life where you really have to stop thinking and you have to start doing. And this is one of the most important things. So first of all, stop thinking, start doing. And second of all, if you feel like you have a good idea, just try to do it. I mean, nobody can stop you from that. And if you do it and you tweet a gif of the stuff you did and it explodes on Twitter, I mean, this is the answer for your thing, right? So, I mean, you just got to try and do it. And as long as the idea is good and the concept is good, I think everything else will, come at its own pace at some point, because this is the core of everything.
I have a friend who just to piggyback on that for a second. It's very interesting because I have a friend who always wanted to make games, and he didn't care what, he just wanted to be involved, and he a month ago just started making his first FPS, and he doesn't care what it's about. It's literally about punching sharks, and it's hilarious. Okay. Like, yeah, he just it's not good. It's not good at all. But it's something, and he's making, and the joy that he gets will lead to something else, and that is interesting. Yeah, just I mean, it's funny because it's like, what's the step? What's the step? And you're saying, do it.
I don't know why, but this idea that you just mentioned, this punching sharks, sounds really fucking cool.
I know you could sell it for $3, So Dave, what would you say to somebody who just they want to do this, they want to be in this world, they want to do what
I would agree a lot with what Kuba said. Less thinking, more doing. But it's hard. I mean, if you think you want to be it's hard on a lot of people ask me, like, how do I get into doing what you're doing? And like, you can't just jump in and be a producer director. You gotta find your way there, ass backwards over 10 years, and then realize you're good at it. But if you have an actual discipline like art or programming or music or sound design, I like to tell people, be specific. Generalists are hard, and I also tell them to start small. Not only is it hard to get work at a big studio, you probably won't. But there's a lot of small teams who could probably use someone talented. It's hard. Find, like what we do is niche, right? If you're really into a certain type of game, try to, find some people who are working on something similar. Work with people who are, if you treat it more like friends and passion and hobby than less like work, then it'll always feel like that. It's not easy to come by this thing that we do. It's literally just, friends making games together, but it wasn't always like that. It's been a long, we started New Blood in 2014. It's been almost 10 years. Holy shit, it's been almost 10 years. And to get to this point where we're at now, where we're comfortably doing whatever we're doing. So when people ask me, how get into games, first I say, no, don't go back to school, get a fucking real job, be a plumber or an electrician, or, get a trade job, a real ass job that pays well and always has work. And then second, I say, specialize, find something you're good at and do that. The reason we're still in business is because we don't get too far outside of our wheelhouse. You don't see us making RTS games or fucking grand strategy 4X space games. It's just not what we can do or what we want to do. We've got no grand designs. We're really good at doing a certain kind of thing, and so is everybody else in our little niche in this corner of the industry. And then we can branch out a little bit into horror games, to immersive sims, to survival horror stuff. I'd say do what you know and get better at it. It's like anything else. If you want to be the best drummer, you got to play drums every day. If you want to be the best animator, you got to practice your little fucking keyframes or whatever it is every day. There's no shortcuts. Unless you got like millions of dollars, then there's a lot of shortcuts. If you got a bunch of crypto money or whatever, if you're Elon Musk, then there's a lot of shortcuts. You could just buy a game studio, I guess. But for most people, that's not the case. But yeah, I would say, less thinking about it, more doing about it. And if you are capable of creating something, there's ways to get it out there, man. Join in on, Wishlist Wednesday, Screenshot Saturday, whatever it is. The amount of games that I've seen get published by like Devolver because they had a cool GIF on Twitter, and somebody tagged them in the replies and they were like, check your DMs. And 3 years later, that game comes out and it's published by Devolver. Like, bro, that shit happens all the time. That could be your game. So yeah, I'm with Kuba, man. Less thinking, more doing. Get to doing. Download Unreal Engine, download Unity, download Game Maker. Go. Start doing shit.
Those
Remember,
are awesome
making
answers.
prototypes is not bad. I mean, as long as you're doing something, you're learning all the time. So just keep doing it. Even if you can't finish one project, start another one, and then another one, and then another one, until you get to a project which you know that you can finish. And this is the best advice that I could give.
Yeah, that's the hard part, finishing.
These are really great answers, and I know that people find them to be really helpful as well. Sometimes people just need that little bit of the you want, just do. And so, yeah, thank you guys for those answers. I'll let you guys go about your day. Kuba, I know it's near. Well, it's past. I think it's past 1 a.m. there now. Is it? It's past 1.
Yeah, I'm pretty sleepy.
Yeah,
to be honest.
For him it's 1:13 in the morning. For me, it's 1:13 in the afternoon on Wednesday.
Oh my gosh, we gotta get rid of this round world thing. It's horrible.
It's crazy.
Well,
wait, the world isn't flat?
I got family who we can talk about that some other time. I'm so sorry. People really do think it. So, but thank you guys. Both of you guys have been incredible here today. I had a really, really enjoyable time. Dave, really nice to speak with you. Kuba, always nice to hang out with you, man. I really, really enjoy who you guys both are. So thank you. I'm gonna turn you down, and you guys can head off and do whatever you want. And I'm gonna just let our friends in chat know that what the plan is and all that. So thank you guys very, very much for today. You're fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. It was awesome.
Okay. Oh, wait. Whoa. Oh! We should have stayed with this. This is a really good background.
It would have been very annoying.
I like it. We could have gone with that. That's good.
Who's that guy? Big John. Okay, goodbye.
All right.
Thank you so much, Jared, Kuba. It was awesome. It's good talking to you guys. I'm sure I will see you again. Buy Project Warlock 2. That's why we're here.
There you go.
If you don't buy it, they can't. If you don't buy enough in early access, they can't make Big John.
That's true.
It costs. You know how much money it makes to render all those polygons? Like millions of dollars.
And by faith,
Yeah.
faith is out.
Yes, and by faith. I'm not here to advertise.
We can still say it.
I do enough of that already.
Yeah.
Buy Faith, buy Gloomwood, buy Ultra Kill, buy Project Warlock 1 and 2. There's a bundle. You can get both games.
True. All right. Thank you guys very much. And guys, if you're in chat again, my name's Jared. It was fantastic hanging out with you guys and everybody here. Again, please check out Project Warlock. Retrovibe puts this show on, and I would love if you guys would check out Project Warlock 1, Project Warlock 2. Please check out all the games from New Blood. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Cirrhosis, you won the question. I will reach out to you and get your shipping information. Everybody else, thank you. I had an incredible time with these guests. They were absolutely fantastic and kind, and we just genuinely appreciate everybody being here for BFF. Have a fantastic evening, afternoon, night. The world is round. It's all very complicated and crazy.